Get ready to accelerate at the limits of legality. Today, we'll explore 5 wheeled machines that were so fast and powerful that governments around the world had to ban them from the streets. These cars are not just vehicles, they are legends that surpassed all expectations and speed limits. Stay with us and discover what these forbidden speed giants are. The Porsche 959 is a classic example of a car that challenged established norms and faced legal issues due to its advanced technology and extreme performance. The Porsche 959 was introduced in the mid-1980s as one of the most advanced and fastest sports cars of its time. Initially designed to compete in Group B rallying, the 959 incorporated cutting-edge technologies including all-wheel drive, electronically adjustable suspension, and a twin-turbo engine that could produce around 450 horsepower. These features put the 959 ahead of many of its contemporaries, but also put it in a precarious position in relation to the prevailing automotive regulations, especially in the United States. In the United States, the Porsche 959 faced major hurdles related to the strict emissions and safety standards imposed by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, NHTSA. At the time, the 959 did not meet US emission standards without significant modifications, which Porsche considered economically unviable for such a limited production vehicle. Additionally, the car also did not meet safety requirements such as crash tests, which were mandatory for certification to be sold to the public. Despite the clamor from enthusiasts and some attempts at importation via show exemptions or as demonstration vehicles, most 959s were unable to legally enter the US as road cars. Only a limited number of units were imported under these special categories, making the car even more exclusive and coveted. This forbidden status only increased the myth surrounding the 959, cementing its reputation as an icon among collectors and car lovers. Beyond the regulatory issues in the US, the Porsche 959's high production costs and extremely advanced features also made it an impractical vehicle for many global markets. Porsche produced fewer than 300 units of the 959, reflecting its position as a niche car, better suited for collectors and racetracks than daily use on public roads. This limited production run, combined with the legal barriers, effectively banned the 959 from many markets, making it a forbidden legend in the automotive world. The Nissan Skyline R34 GTR is one of the icons of Japanese motoring, known for its impressive performance capabilities and the adoration it inspires among sports car enthusiasts. However, its presence was restricted in some major markets, such as the United States, due to a combination of regulations and model-specific factors. The Nissan Skyline R34 GTR was released in 1999 and quickly gained cult status due to its advanced technology, including the ITESE ET's all-wheel drive system and the Super Hicus chassis control system. Despite these innovations, the R34 GTR faced significant barriers to entering the US market, primarily for not meeting a safety and emission standards. As a vehicle not officially imported by Nissan into the United States, it lacked the necessary certifications that would allow regular importation and registration. Beyond regulatory issues, the R34 GTR also fell victim to its own success in the tuning and modified car scene. Its ability to be easily modified to significantly increase performance made it a target for stricter regulations, especially in countries with strict laws around vehicle modifications. This included issues such as power increases beyond permitted limits, emissions system alterations, and other adjustments that could lead to non-compliance with local laws. In the UK and Europe, the R34 GTR was not officially banned, but Nissan chose not to import it officially due to the prohibitive cost of modifying it to meet the EU's strict emission standards and other automotive regulation. This effectively limited the R34's availability in Europe, leaving enthusiasts relying on independent imports, which are expensive and mired in red tape. The combination of non-compliance with emission standards, safety issues, and the intense focus on modifying and tuning the car created a scenario where the Nissan Skyline R34 GTR was relegated to an almost mythical status. In markets where it is legal, there are often severe restrictions on its importation, registration, and use, making it a car more common on racetracks and at exhibitions than on public roads. This exclusivity and the associated difficulties of ownership only increased the legend surrounding the R34 GTR, solidifying its place in automotive culture as an unattainable icon for many. The Lotus Esprit Veit is one of the milestones in Lotus history, known for its distinct design and exceptional performance. Despite its impressive qualities, the Esprit Veit faced legal challenges that restricted its availability in key markets, such as the United States. Here is a detailed explanation of why the Lotus Esprit Veit faced these restrictions. Introduced in the 1990s, the Lotus Esprit Veit sported a twin-turbocharged Veit engine, capable of producing up to 350 horsepower. A remarkable figure for the time. However, despite its impressive technical specifications, the Esprit Veit struggled to comply with the stringent emissions regulations imposed in the United States. The emissions laws in the US, particularly in California, which are some of the strictest in the world, required significant modifications to the engine and emissions control systems, representing an additional cost for Lotus, a relatively small company compared to automotive giant. In addition to emissions issues, the Lotus Esprit Veit also did not meet the modern safety standards required in the US. Issues such as the lack of dual airbags and stability control systems, which were becoming mandatory norms for new vehicles sold in the US, were additional obstacles to homologating the Esprit Veit. For a low-volume manufacturer like Lotus, the costs associated with implementing these technologies in an existing model were prohibitive, making it difficult to justify the investment without guarantees of adequate returns. The complexity and cost associated with adapting the Esprit Veit for different markets was not limited to just the US. In Europe and elsewhere, regulations were also becoming stricter in terms of safety and emissions. Although the Esprit Veit could be sold in some European markets, limited demand and increasing regulatory costs made its presence in those markets increasingly challenging. Consequently, the Lotus Esprit Veit, while critically acclaimed for its performance and design, became less accessible and was effectively banned from several key markets. This led to a situation where, despite being a desirable and capable vehicle, the Esprit Veit was relegated to a niche within a niche, appreciated mainly by enthusiasts and collectors who could navigate or circumvent the regulatory complexities. The Esprit Veit story illustrates how external regulations can significantly influence the life cycle and market accessibility of an innovative sports car in the global market. The Lotus Omega, also known as the Lotus Carlton outside of the UK, is a notable example of a partnership between Lotus and Opel that resulted in one of the fastest sedans in the world at the time of its release in the early 1990s. However, the Lotus Omega faced several controversies and ended up being a car with quite restricted distribution, especially outside of Europe. But the main reason the Lotus Omega was banned was the following. The incident involving the Lotus Omega is a famous story that exemplifies not only the car's incredible performance capabilities, but also the practical consequences of having such a fast vehicle on the roads. This case occurred in Belgium in the 1990s, and quickly became legendary among car enthusiasts and even in popular culture. The incident began when a Lotus Omega was stolen by criminals. What followed was a high-speed police chase that entered automotive history. The police soon discovered they were at a disadvantage. None of the police cars could keep up with the Omega, thanks to its 3.6L twin-turbo engine, producing 377 horsepower and allowing the car to reach speeds in excess of 280 km/h. The Lotus Omega easily left the police vehicles behind. The inability of the police to keep up with the stolen Lotus not only demonstrated the car's exceptional performance, but also raised important questions about safety and the suitability of extremely fast vehicles for use in urban environments and highways. This incident highlighted the need for police to have access to faster and better equipped vehicles to deal with high-performance vehicle pursuits. Furthermore, the case of the stolen Lotus Omega became a frequently cited example in debates about high-performance cars and their regulation. It clearly illustrates the dilemma faced by law enforcement and legislators: how to balance the passion and desire for fast sports cars with the need to maintain public safety and order on the roads. The story of the stolen Omega is a fascinating reminder of how automotive engineering can sometimes outpace existing infrastructure and regulation. This level of performance was extraordinary for a sedan at the time, but it also raised significant concerns about safety and suitability for daily use on public roads. In many markets, especially in the United States, there was strong regulation focused on safety and speed control. which made a car with the Lotus Omega's capabilities potentially problematic from a regulatory standpoint. Beyond the safety concerns, the Lotus Omega also faced significant barriers related to emissions compliance. Emissions regulations in the United States and some other markets outside of Europe were becoming increasingly stringent in the early 1990s. The Omega's highly tuned engine, despite its impressive performance, was not optimized for low emissions. Without considerable modifications, it would have been economically unviable for Lotus and Opel Vauxhall. Economically, the Lotus Omega was also a challenge. Its high development and manufacturing costs, combined with a relatively high selling price, made it accessible only to a niche market segment. This factor limited its appeal in markets where cost is a greater deciding factor, further reducing the viability of its large-scale introduction in regions like North America and parts of Asia, where high-performance models tend to be expensive. Finally, the image and perception of the Lotus Omega also contributed to its exclusion from several markets. In many countries, there was a growing concern about high-speed cars and the impact they could have on road safety and driver behavior. The Omega's ability to easily exceed established speed limits led to public debates and criticism from legislators and safety groups, who viewed such vehicles as encouraging reckless driving. The Dodge Challenger SRT Demon was banned primarily due to its extreme speed and performance, which exceed the safety standards set by the National Hot Rod Association (NRA) for production vehicles. Equipped with a 6.2-liter supercharged V8 engine, the Demon can produce up to 840 horsepower with high-octane fuel. This allows the car to complete the quarter mile, 400 meters, in just 9.65 seconds, an impressive time that places it in the supercar category. However, this speed means that the Demon exceeds the safety limits that require additional modifications, such as roll cages and parachutes, which are not provided in the vehicle's standard configuration. Moreover, the NHRA mandates that vehicles completing the quarter mile in less than 10 seconds need a series of safety equipment to protect both the driver and spectators. These include, among others, an internal roll cage, a fuel shutoff system in case of a rollover, and a parachute to help decelerate the car. Since the Dodge Demon does not come equipped with these safety items from the factory, it was prohibited from officially competing on NHRA-sanctioned drag racing tracks, unless these modifications were made. This highlights the need for stringent regulations to balance the pursuit of extreme performance with safety. The ban on the Dodge Demon reflects the ongoing tension between automotive innovation and the necessity of maintaining safety standards. While enthusiasts celebrate the Demon for its extraordinary capabilities and consider it a marvel of modern engineering, regulatory organizations like the NRA must ensure that all vehicles competing on their tracks meet strict safety criteria. This balance is crucial to protect drivers, spectators, and the integrity of racing events. Therefore, the ban on the Dodge Demon serves as a reminder that, even in a world where automotive technology is constantly advancing, safety cannot be compromised. Now, if you want to discover the legendary car from the 80s that was V6 turbo, faster than a Ferrari, and left many muscle cars in the dust, watch the next video.